And go blue, everybody. We are back for another Michigan post-game live. It's John Diadamo here hosting. We got TJ here. And look, folks, just hit that like button. We're just gonna be talking this out. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, all of that good stuff. I'm in my new place. So it's official. Back in Virginia. TV ready to go. TJ, how you holding up?
It's a shame it's so early in the day, or I'd have a beer in my hand.
Oh yeah.
What a game for Texas, and this was my concern. On Tuesday I gave my predictions and what we needed to see from a victory. Well, we couldn't stop them on third down, we couldn't sustain drives, and we didn't hold them to field goals. But they did all of that to us. Came away with the victory. It looks like I was too optimistic in my final call. I said 28-17. It was 31-12. It's just an unfortunate performance by Michigan, and I think many of us watching right now, I know my boy Juju's ready to go here. That's disappointing. That was a disappointing ass game, and there's a lot to get into. We will cover the offense, we will cover the defense, we will come to conclusions, and I'm going to tell you right now, I do got some takes. I got some very aggressive takes, and we'll see, man. We got work to do. Also, for everyone who's watching or new to our format for the post-game show, for every $100 raised, whether it be super chats, memberships, super stickers, we will go an extra hour. John does have shit to do later, so he can only be here for so long, but I will ride or die with you guys. So let's make it happen. Let's get to work, John.
Yeah, and before we do, we just want to remind everybody about how our format goes for call-in shows. We're going to do 60 minutes with you no matter what. We get super chats, we get memberships, or we don't. We're going to go 60 minutes. If you guys want to donate $100 in super chats or memberships, then we'll go a second hour, another 100. We'll do a third hour, and so on. I can stay for about 2, but TJ's going to ride it out. So it's up to you guys how long you want to go. It's your show. You guys decide how long you want to have it, and we're just going to go from there. We are broadcasting on YouTube, Twitch, and now back on X. Since we got the premium account set up, so you can see us on a lot of different places in the podcast. But let's go ahead and start with the kind of the look at the offense in this game. And I'm actually going to pull up the box score too, just so that you can see the difference. And it's actually kind of interesting when you look at the box score, because it actually looks like the two quarterbacks, despite despite what we all saw with our own eyes, the passing yardage was not that far off, but obviously we saw the difference between the experienced hand at quarterback with Quinn Ewers and 3 touchdowns versus Davis Warren, who obviously second start, and he played like it was his second start. And I wanted to ask you this to start off, TJ. What do you think that the coaches, because I'm putting this on the coaches, the players played their ass off. Khalid Hill, did a tweet about this. Don't dog on the players too hard, because it's the coaches that put them in the positions that they were in. What do you think the coaches were seeing in the pass game in practice that made them so confident? Because I'm really confused now.
Okay, we have a problem. We have a serious problem with our coaches. Our problem right now with our coaches is I don't think they know what they're looking at. I don't think they truly understand what they have in front of them. And we can see this in many different situations. One, we can see it in their lack of pursuit of a quarterback in April's portal. And before anyone says, well, there was nothing available, that's not how this works. How this works is you reach out to their agents, you make offers, and you get them in the portal. That is how this works. Kids don't just go in the portal. They go in the portal when they know they have a home. Okay, that's how this works. Unless you are a kid low on the depth chart, then you enter the portal. But the real players, the big time players, they get phone calls and then they hop in the portal. And that's what Michigan should have did. They never did that. That's on them. So that's on the coaching staff for not identifying that issue. Secondly, they go into fall camp and they think they have something between Davis Warren and Alex Orji. Well, apparently not. And another thing that concerns me greatly, we talked about this in week 1, John. This rotation of Alex Orji, they completely killed that drive in the second quarter. where they had to use a timeout. And then what did they do, John? Ran the ball. Wow. Creative. So creative. I mean, it amazes me how obvious shit is, and yet they do it. You know, it's crazy to me. Okay. And then lastly, when you look at the confidence coming out of fall camp and to see what this product is, listen, this offensive line's not together. How did this offensive line perform against our defensive line? I don't know. But here's what I do know. We didn't get a sack all day today. Now we'll get to the defense. We'll get into that. But we're on to focus on the coaches. The point being is I am concerned our coaches do not know what they're even looking at. And I texted John this. They are in over their head. Our head coach is in over his head. Our offensive coordinator is in over his head. This is week 2. It is early. But guys, I'm going to let you know, we have a lot of issues that I don't know if we can get fixed. Can it improve? Sure, and it will. And we won't lose every game. This was obviously a top 5 team here. This is a national championship contender. This is a big boy. But I think we all agree our standards is to compete with the big boys, and we did not. Okay? So, yeah, in terms of the coaching, we have an issue. We have a real big issue. And this seat for Sharon Moore, and this was one of my hot takes I was going to save till we get to conclusions, but the seat for Sharon Moore is going to get hot real quick. Real quick. And, you know, I'll tell you right now, too, we'll get to conclusions, but there is some positives I'll also throw out there. But we'll get to that when we get to conclusions.
Okay.
And, Elijah, thank you. Just transferred 50.
Yeah.
So thank you, Elijah. You've obviously very supportive to our show last week, this week. We appreciate you. Thank you. And appreciate anyone who contributes to the channel. It does mean a lot to us.
Yeah, Elisha's dropped us 2 already. So thanks to Elisha, we're already $7 down to our 100. So I agree with you, and I'm about to go off on this, Elisha. $4.99 defense was not the issue. I agree 80%. We'll talk about some of the things I think could have been better on the defense, specifically with matchups. But let's talk offense for a second. And by the way, swearing's allowed. So we have 3 rules, but swearing's not one of them. What the fuck was that? What the fuck was that?
A letdown.
Okay, so let's start here. We saw last week a lot of what we saw this week. Alex Orji running the ball and putting him in for one down, for 2 downs, and running the ball. And everyone and their mother knows that Alex Orji's in there to run the ball. They saw him do it last year. Do you know what was effective? When they actually had him pass the ball to Donovan Edwards, that was effective because it was something that the defense for Fresno wasn't expecting. The play calling stayed the same the whole game. It was this dink and dunk. It was this, let's run Donovan Edwards, even though he didn't work last week. I didn't see a ton of Khalil. There's a little bit of Khalil. Let's throw to Colston Loveland again. Like everybody doesn't know that's what's going to happen. Okay. The only positive was I do think Judice did a little bit better as center than he did last week. That's like it. Everything else, I don't understand what Kirk Campbell was doing. I don't understand what Sharon Moore was doing, and I don't understand why. To your point, TJ, I'm going to give you your credit on this. You said maybe like a couple of months ago, why didn't Michigan go out and get Kyle McCord? And I said, I thought that was a little, I'm not a big Kyle McCord fan. I think he kind of shirked in the largest stages. But I think that I don't think anyone could argue right now. You put Kyle McCord out there right now that you don't have a better product on the field. I don't think anyone would argue right now.
McCord? Oh, you mean this Kyle McCord?
Yeah, that killed it. Killed it against a good Georgia Tech team.
The guy who would love to have some revenge on his former team, if that guy. Yeah, that would have been a good play. Yeah. But Michigan decided, we'll get into that. But yeah, it would have been nice to get Kyle McCord.
So I just don't see the quarterback in because apparently Jaden Davis's family, from what I'm understanding, they want him to redshirt this year. So there, I don't know what other option there is other than Orji, who clearly can't pass very well. So like I'm kind of at a loss as to why they didn't go into the portal. But yeah, the offense not good tonight.
Okay. Yeah, let me hit on this, right? So, like, you're right, and I think we all agree with what we saw. Look, the offensive line was getting pushed back. Our offensive line's not good. Evan Link is garbage. Evan Link got his ass kicked today. Unfortunately, he was the biggest issue in my opinion. Orgy's predictable. They're trying to use them in obvious scenarios. They're killing drives, killing momentum. I mean, like, shout out to Anthony Broom. He had a really good tweet, and he said, if you're not gonna let Alex Orgy throw the ball, then why is he in the game at all? Like, if you're not going to give him the opportunity to play when the game's getting out of hand, why are you putting him in on these second downs, killing drives? This is what I mean. It's like the coaching. I'm gonna be real, man. This coaching staff is a problem right now, and it's not good. And then the last thing I want to hit on in terms of the offense is the play calling, which you talked about. But what was interesting to me, John, is when everything was on the fucking line, right? And the back's against the wall, then they start throwing the ball downfield. Now, I granted Texas is in a little bit more of a prevent defense, but still they were applying pressure. And Davis Warren, and here's another thing. Why is Davis Warren not rolling out right? Because when he was rolling out right, he was making things happen. And not only that, and then did you see Davis Warren finally take off? He looks pretty good. Why is he not doing that? Now that's a him thing. He needs to read things better and have a better feel for the pocket. That is a him thing. That's a lack of experience. But listen, this team is not ready. Straight up. Offense is not ready. Our defense we're going to get to. There's a bunch of issues there as well. Yeah, we have a problem. This offense is going to be a nightmare for us this season. Do I see it improving? To an extent, yeah. But when you play against Oregon or Ohio State or USC, which is the four big boys that we're about to be going up against, I don't know if anyone saw USC. They play defense now. Okay, USC appears to have a defense. They're going to be a problem. I know Tim's in the comments. Shout out Tim. Your team's looking very good. Miller Moss, #1 quarterback in the Big Ten. But we have some serious issues, and my concern is it's not just the team; it's the coaching staff. But we'll see where that goes. And again, when we get to conclusions, I'll bring some some positivity to what we're seeing. There is some positivity, and I'll get to it. But yeah, we have a problem, and there's a lot to work on. And I'm not sure this coaching staff. I don't have confidence in our coaching staff right now. They've lost my trust and here's why. And if anyone's like, "Oh man, so early, these are overreactions," I'll tell you why. That what we heard out of camp, not from my source, it doesn't matter. Everything we heard from every source, you name it, on three, as anyone, we are not seeing any of it. This improved, progressions and reads in the pocket and comfort from either Alex Orgy or Davis. No, this offensive line looks good. Where it's not going to lose its elite status. No. Oh, this defense looks like it's going to be top 5 again. All that. No, because we just gave up 389 yards to Texas, 246 through the air, 143 on the ground. That is not Michigan football. That is not Michigan defense. We are not who we were. We have talent, so that's not the issue on the defensive side. Okay. Offensively, we are a little bit talent challenged, especially at the skill positions like wide receiver. Running back, we should be fine. And that's another issue too, man. Why is Ben Hall not getting the ball more? Why is Khalil Mullins not getting the ball more? They look better to me. I will say Donovan Edwards looked better than last week, but he's still having the same issues. They even brought it up in the broadcast. No patience, no vision. Like, why is the coaching staff forcing square pegs into round holes? This is a concern.
Yeah, I don't understand it, and Ben Hall did look good, and he did look better than the others. A couple of the reasons that maybe Michigan started to find himself towards the end, Texas was starting to put in backups. They were starting to play bend, don't break. They were still doing some man, but they were playing bend, don't break, and they didn't have their top guys in towards the end. So then Michigan we were talking about this behind over text and before the show, and I was like, I'm kind of pissed they did that, because now Sharon Moore has an argument to keep things as is. He has an argument. No, he has an argument. I don't agree.
You, no.
I don't agree. I want them to change a lot of stuff. But now he could go into the presser and say, hey, look at that last drive. That last drive was something, huh? And I wanted Texas to just stomp them the whole game, so that there had to be, because I agree with you if when you say about the Sharon Moore on the hot seat, I agree with you if they do not make changes, and it's still the same at Arkansas State, and it's still the same at when we play USC. If Sharon Moore and Kirk Campbell make the changes right now, while Michigan still has the 9 game, a pretty full season ahead still, then okay. If they don't, if this stays as it is, and then another stomp happens against USC, I'm calling for everybody's head.
I think we're in for another stomping from USC. I'm going to let you know right now. I'll get into why. I'll get into why when we get into our conclusions and final thoughts. Okay. But let's give a shout out here to Elijah. Can we agree this week that the play calling wide receivers were the number one issue on the team? This team lacks explosiveness, no deep balls. Kirk knows his players. Okay, I agree with you on play calling. I would argue I would put the offensive line above wide receivers, but don't get me wrong, wide receivers are a nice third. Okay, like the offensive line's an issue. Like they are getting worked. They are not creating lanes. Like, look, it's going to be hard to duplicate what we had the last 3 years, right? But it needs to be better than this. Like, this is not acceptable by any means. Yes, more time to gel will be better. Texas is a good team. We know this. Again, a national championship contender. Yes. But this offensive line, there's a lot of issues. And I'm going to tell you what I saw to Evan Link. We have a problem at right tackle, dude. That is an open door. He was getting his ass kicked. And look, he's a redshirt freshman. It's all love, dude. Like, I want you to play great, but like, it is what it is. Okay. Like, it is what it is. Like, you were just getting work today. And, we just have some serious red flags on offense, and play calling is number one right now. I don't know what the hell I don't know what they think our philosophy is. They don't even know. They have no idea. They're trying to figure it out in the game. Not good, man. We are not prepared. Early signs, early indicators, Sharon's in over his head. That's just what it is right now.
Yeah. We got one more super chat.
Which makes me question the coaching staff that was his, and I agree. And I said the same thing. It seemed like we were driving the ball downfield more. Now, maybe Davis Warren was in an F it mentality, which I kind of think he was. He was kind of like, F it, we're going for it. We got nothing to lose, which is probably how he needs to play. But then again, some of those interceptions he threw, what was that? Right? Like, yeah, one was tipped, but like, he's just, he has talent, but he's not ready at all. Okay, the kid's just not ready, and to put him in a game like this, you could say, well, that's football, man. This is college. This is the expanded Big Ten. This is the new era of college football. Do you see the games we're seeing, the non-conference games we're looking at, or the regular season games these teams are facing? Like, have you guys seen USC's schedule? It's a gauntlet. They got Notre Dame in non-conference. They had LSU in non-conference. This is big boy football. And if we want to be a big boy and maintain our status as a big boy, because obviously we won a national title, right? We are 3-time Big Ten champions. We are. Well, to maintain that, you got to keep playing big boy football. Like, we have to reload. Now, again, like, I keep wanting to go to conclusions because, like, there's a reason why we're not. There's a big reason why this did not sustain into this year at this point, and we'll get into that. But all right, let's knock out this super chat, and then we'll get to Nick's, and then let's hit on the defense, and then we'll get to conclusions so we get to these calls. Thank you, Juju and Nick, for holding on. Looking forward to hearing from you. Okay, so the Nick here, the $2 super chat, looked like 2020 Michigan to me. You know what's funny is I was on the message board just looking around, and one of the comments was, I can't remember the last time we looked this bad in a half, and then I responded in 2020. 2020 we did.
Yeah.
Hulk era 2.0. Well, I'll tell you this, Elvis Nation.
Oh man,
I don't think this era will last too long. I don't expect the Shromore era to last very long. I'll just say that. I think he's on a tryout basis. In my opinion, I think he's more a temp coach right now. And it's not simply because of the contract situation, which we can get into probably on Tuesday's show or another time, not today, but I don't imagine this era lasting too long if this is how the season's going to go. And I don't expect, we'll get to the bright side of things. I don't expect other things to stay the same either if this continues, but we'll get to those on the bright side of things.
Yeah. So I held a couple the super chat back for defense, and now we're gonna do defense. So we got Moose who's gonna start us off with defense with a fiver. Defense wasn't
Thank you,
bad
Moose.
actually. 28 runs for 84 yards for Texas before Wingo busted that 55 yarder. Passing gave up 253 touchdowns. Barn cooked once, Barry twice, Barry once. So before I let you go, one thing I did notice, TJ, I don't know if you had this in your notes, but I noticed that for whatever reason they were putting Jair Hill on Isaiah Bond, and I was confused about that because all run up to this week, I was almost positive that they were going to put Will Johnson up against Bond as like their best receiver, but maybe Wing and team saw something else, but. What kind of were your thoughts on the defense, which I would say was a notch better, but that's like saying a like a cooking fire is better than a dumpster fire, basically.
Yeah, I don't know why they decided to go the rotation with Will Johnson, Jair Hill, and Isaiah Bond. I mean, I don't even know if it mattered at this point. I mean, Isaiah or Will Johnson played pretty well though. I feel, I feel like he held his own. Juju, I was gonna say Juju just dropped out. Don't leave Juju. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, John. I mean, it's really just a mess, and Moose here he goes, well, our defense only gave up 84. Look, sure, but you can't give up the 55 yarder, right? And then not only that, let's look at the total. 389 yards, 0 sacks, guys. 0 sack. Now we said we had this is gonna be the best offensive line we play all year. True. 0 sacks. 143 yards rushing, 246 through the air. I'm sorry, that's not Michigan defense, dude. That's not Michigan defense. That's not the standard here. It's not acceptable. Like, it's just not. So, I mean, it just is what it is. Now, what's funny? I don't know if you know this, but in the AI chat, did you know YouTube's throwing an AI chat in here? It says a summary of the chat. It's pretty funny. It was the chat's questioning the coaching staff and the play. I don't know. It's just funny to see what the AI is generating here. But that's new to YouTube, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's just honestly, I feel, and you guys tell me in the chat if you disagree. This is not Michigan football, and this is not acceptable. If you think I am wrong, let me know in the comments. But I don't think that me personally, it's not. There is a standard here. There is an expectation. Now, are we going to go 15-0 every year or 17? No, we're not. But we better be better than this shit. Okay, this is not it. Let's see. We got Elijah again of 499. Rest in peace, Smash Mouth Football. Skip a McDonald's bag. Time to throw Thanksgiving plate in the transfer portal, and we will talk about that. I promise. Thank you, Elijah. You're not wrong. There is truth to this statement. We're going to get to that. James Cooper, 33 throws to 23 runs is not University of Michigan football. Campbell out. Yeah, well, we have a serious problem when you are not one. We don't even have our RB1 situation. It's not settled. They're trying to. Man, they're trying to force Donovan Edwards, man. And I just don't think it's it. They need to use him as a weapon. I don't know why they're not. Michigan Go Blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 499 super chat. I wish we would disguise more edge bushes. It's obvious when we edge bush. It's so predictable. Yeah, I was surprised at some of the lack of creativity on the blitzes. I was surprised at, well, let's get into defense. So let's start. All right. So here's my points on defense. Look, we could not stop Texas on third down. Texas was 10 for 16 on third down. Listen, in the very beginning of the game, we had Texas in that first drive, right? They converted they were 3 for 3 on third downs, I think something like that. And I had in my keys of the game, they cannot convert third downs. They cannot, and we have to hold them to field goals. We didn't do any of that. If we could have got them off the field, that would have been fantastic. If we could have stopped them on those third downs, the first 2 downs, Michigan was doing pretty well. We just kept giving up those third down conversions. They were killers. And then what happens? Your defense is on the field. And then in the beginning of the game, what happened? Our offense could not sustain drives. Our defense got tired by the second quarter. Did you see that, John? We were getting gassed in this. That's not Michigan football. Like, that's not how we
at
play.
The end of Texas's first drive. I saw them start to get gassed early.
And then here's another thing I'm not used to seeing: missed tackles, gaps in the defense. That's not like, yeah, dude. So Wink Martindale, I mean, look, dude, I do think he's a solid coordinator. I know there's a bunch of concerns about him. Well, the reality is right now he's on watch notice. I mean, like, it's very questionable. This coaching staff right now is very questionable at Michigan. I don't think anyone should have. Well, I'm not going to tell anyone how to think. Think how you want to think, right? But for me, I'm simply going to say I don't have confidence in this coaching staff. They have to prove it to me otherwise. They've lost my trust. And the reason why they've lost my trust is because the way they handled the portal, the trust they had with our roster, and then what came out of camp. And then the confidence they had coming out of camp was it's gross, to be honest, to be quite frank. And I don't mean to be too blunt about it. Like, that's not my intent, but I'm just keeping it real with you guys. Like, guys, Sharon had so much confidence in his interviews, and what I'm seeing on the field, I don't know why.
I don't get it.
I don't know why. You know?
Yeah, Davis. Yeah, and now I'm starting to think, well, if Davis had high 80s completion, it was like, it must have been like 3-yard outs, like 5-yard dink and dunk, 80 plus completion. Because I saw him try to go deep, and only a couple of them hit, like the mid range ones, like with Colston Loveland, and a couple at the end. And maybe that's what they were seeing in practice all spring and fall. Maybe. We did see some of that in the spring game. We saw them do pretty well in the spring game, but they weren't going hard. Like, they were going harder than Ohio State goes, but they weren't going like game level hard. And that's the difference, is now Davis Warren's dealing with a Texas team. And by the way, I don't think we've said yet, like, Texas is a very, very good team, and they might win the whole damn thing this year. So that does, well, that does need to be said. That I'm pissed too, but like, it does need to be said. Like, they might win the whole thing, but the counter argument to that is Michigan just won the whole thing 8 months ago. So what does not compute.
Yeah, well, I mean,
should have been a better game at least.
You know, I'm going to be real too. Speaking on that, we won last year. Guess what? It's 2024, boys.
Yeah.
You know, it's a new year. Like, I know we won last year. We gotta let that. I mean, we can appreciate it. We can love it. They're not taking it from us. They never will. That's our national title. But guess what? I'm not hanging my hat on it. I want another one. Okay. I want another one. Because guess what? If you don't get another one, that becomes the past. And I don't live in the past. I live in the present. I live in the now. And I want my teams to contend for Big Ten championships and national titles and playoffs. That's the standard, period. They know that. And they know that too. And Michigan knows that. So, you know, so what else did you have on defense, John? And let's get to our conclusions here, because I want to knock those out. I think I have something that I think I really want to share to our audience. And also I want to get to our callers here, Nick and Juju.
Honestly, I think you covered a lot of it really well. Steve, I think Steve continued Steve nailed it with the 10 there. Continued to talk about the defensive coordinator. Why the hell did they have Graham at the end? He is and look, I pushed against people all off season that said he's like Don Brown, but it's looking at times I know that the system's different. I know that the overall concept is different, but like the amount that he blitzes, the amount that he comes after, Quinn Ewers was able to exploit that all game. He was able to find, and it wasn't just Isaiah Bond. He was able to go to the tight end. He was able to go to, when you blitz that heavy, you go to the tight end, and the tight end was going for 20, 30 yards down the field.
Yeah. Hey, John, do you have the StreamYard link in the description for people to call in? Because there's some people asking. I just put the StreamYard link in the chat if you guys want to call in. If not, it should be in the description for you guys to use. You guys can use that to call into the show. We are going to be taking calls here in a moment. But yeah, you're not right. You're not wrong, John. I mean, I don't understand. The gaps in this defense were wild. I haven't seen that since Don Brown. Now, I will say this. I'm not ready to call Wink Martindale Don Brown, because Don Brown did a little bit more interesting, guys on islands and things like that. But damn, what was like our defense? I didn't see the disguises in coverage. Here's the thing though. When we did pressure Quinn Ewers, I'll say this though, Quinn Ewers, that's the example of a veteran, experienced quarterback, composed, calm, sees the field. The game is slow. He knew what to do at the right time. Texas is in a great position to go on a great run this year. Their quarterback is ready. Quinn Ewers is ready. It'll be exciting to see how that goes for them. But at the end of the day, F those guys. So thank you, Steve, for your $9.99 super chat. We appreciate that. Dade, $5 super chat. Did Jim blow up the program on the way out of U of M to the admin? That was awful. Well, you know what? Did he blow it up? Well, let me tell you what I'll give you some real shit here. He didn't help a lot of things with the program in terms of the transition to the new era. He took a lot of the staff. Now, people are going to argue, well, he's going to the NFL. He's allowed to take his staff. You don't gut your program. He gutted our program, took our strength and conditioning coach, took a bunch of our key staff. Now, you're going to lose some staff, of course, but he took people that were in like the administration. Like, I think not Abigail. He tried to get Abigail. He tried to get our nutritionist, dude. He tried to yank our nutritionist. He took the other girl. I forgot her name. I think she did recruiting. What the hell do you need that in the NFL? Like, it's amazing the things he yanked. And then on top of that, he definitely didn't put listen, we won a natty. He got us there. So it is hats off. It is salute to Jim Harbaugh. Thank you. You did your job. You did your job. But the way he had our recruiting department structured, the lack of quarterback recruits that he got in 22 and 23, we're seeing those results now. The lack of NIL push by Ward Manuel, and then Jim Harbaugh's reluctance to he was for NIL, but he was reluctant to be aggressive with donors, and he thought they should give him money. He shouldn't have to go out and always try to encourage donations. He was very reluctant in that area, very old school in his recruiting department approach, and we're seeing those effects now. And let's just keep it real. Sharon Moore is not Jim Harbaugh. You also, if you're going to do it your way, you better be special. And we're going to be real here. Jim Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in all of football in the world. So he can do that type of shit. Sharon Moore inherited that and had to fix things on the fly. He doesn't have a good quarterback. But again, it's on Sharon Moore to do something about it in the portal. That's on them. So yeah, let's just say Jim Harbaugh didn't put us in the greatest of positions, but we did win a natty. So it is what it is. I can't complain about that. Elijah again, Ernest Hausman missed so many tackles. He did. That was disappointing. Not only did Ernest Hausman miss a bunch of tackles, but Jay Sean Barham, man, his pursuit angles were a little off. He was more reacting. He was more thinking than reacting. I saw with our linebacker play, and I'll be real with you. Brian Jean-Marie, we had this issue before when Brian Jean-Marie in 2020 was our coach in 2020 during that terrible season. Our linebackers played the same way. I'm seeing the same shit. So not good. Elijah again. Honestly, I thought our secondary played well. Our linebackers and zone drops were horrific. Yeah, I mean, exactly. On to the linebackers. Our linebackers are doing the same thing I saw in 2020. It's definitely a concern. John, are you keeping tally of where we are now with our super chats? Because we got a bunch of them. Okay. Tom Gumbar, apologies if I mispronouncing that. But funny, no more COVID players. Oh, here we go. No more COVID players or Stallions, and you get your asses kicked at home. Ohio State, Bama, Georgia never get blown at home. So you don't think it's the fact that we led the NFL or that we led college football and drafted players? You don't think it's the fact that 18 players from that team last year on NFL rosters and 13 were drafted? You don't think because our entire coaching staff is now in the NFL? Mm-hmm. Is Kirby Smart still at Georgia? John, is Kirby still at Georgia?
I think last I checked, he's still there.
Did we make Nick Saban get a desk job?
I'm pretty sure he's a game day now.
$5, Tom. Enjoy your L, son. Nick, $2 super chat. Looks like a 4-win team making a ball. All right, easy, Nick. He's on the line, so we'll hear from Nick. But easy, Nick. 4 wins. Easy now. Baby D-Lo, Michigan defense isn't as good as advertised. Facts, truth spoken. No, they are not. They are not. And that's a concern. That's a concern. And then we have Michigan, another $4.99 for Michigan. Go blue. 1, 2, 3, 4. You think Jack Tuttle starts with healthy? That's funny. I'm not going to rule it out, but not going to rule it out because right now, I mean, Davis Warren didn't play absolutely horrific, but I don't think he has what he needs around him to succeed. His offensive line must protect him. His wide receivers must make the job easier. They don't. But also, Davis Warren has to do better. So we can't take all the blame on everybody else but Davis Warren. Davis Warren has to get better at decision-making and his composure in the pocket. I started to see Davis Warren. I want him to have that carefree attitude he had at the end of that game. That and the coaching staff does need to put him in a position to succeed. He needs to roll out. He needs to be on the move. He needs to make his ability to be to run a weapon. Coaching staff has to do that, though. They also have to help him with that. I mean, there's blame to go around everywhere. I don't think it's one single individual or one single area. There's a lot of issues here. All right, John, let's get to our conclusions here so we can get to our callers because they're starting to line up here.
Yeah, real quick. I just want to I just want to mention that we have $83 down, and we only need 17 to go to unlock a second hour of the show.
Okay, 17 more to go, and we are on for another hour. Appreciate all you guys supporting and contributing to the channel. We appreciate that. So here are my conclusions, which are, second quarter, the game was over. We hit on that. I do not trust our coaching staff. We hit on that. We don't have a QB. Boys, we are in trouble. Okay, we are in trouble. We are not in a good spot. And the reason why we're in trouble is this. In the old Big Ten model, this wouldn't be as bad. But in the current expanded Big Ten model, when you have USC on the horizon, when you have Oregon on the horizon, and you have the most loaded OSU team in a while, you have some very tough opponents, and you also have a Big Ten that's getting better, not worse. Rutgers is getting better. We play Rutgers, I believe. We have some games that might have looked easier than they were before. I mean, listen, right now I'm at 8-4, just so you know, like currently looking at the schedule, I'm at 8-4. I just think USC and Oregon, although we'll see what Oregon does, but Ohio State's got our ass right now, just straight up. I know it sucks to say. I don't want to admit it either. I mean, not that I want to admit it. I'll admit it. I mean, I don't run from truth. Truth is truth, but like it sucks for it to be a potential reality. And then here's where I want to go with this. Welcome to the NIL era of college football. The era where Michigan no longer has pre-NIL players. You don't have your JJs and your Blakes and even your Will Johnsons, who he did get a deal, but that class was the last class where NIL wasn't in full effect because it came 6 months. That class only had 6 months of NIL, and plus things were not where they are now. We are now in a new era of college football officially. The NIL era is real. Texas is an NIL era team. The top teams in college football all play the game and they have a culture. So the argument that you can't buy players, and listen, there are teams who have terrible cultures. That's because they have terrible leaders, not because they buy players. You can buy players and have a good culture if you have good leaders. That's what matters. That's the difference, right? So we are now in that era. So let me bring some positivity if there is any. What is the light? Well, with like anything in life, if there's darkness, there's light. If there's light, there's shadow. There's always a duality in everything. So what we have here is, in my opinion, opportunity. And the opportunity is, and we talked about this in the offseason, when you get punched in the mouth and you take your L's, what are you going to do about it? You're going to change. You're going to create change. Well, here's what I think is a high probability for Michigan. Our NIL game is going to get better. Just like when Ohio State lost to us 3 years in a row, they got real focused, real aggressive, real motivated. We are going to get real focused here real quick. And I already told you with Ward Manuel's interview about a week or two ago, the fact that he's talking about publicly the approach that our donors have philosophically about how there wasn't a culture at Michigan where donors want to pay players, but it's beginning to change. The fact that that's becoming public now, that Ward's even saying that, is crazy, because Ward was a big resistor to NIL and paying players in the beginning of all this. So the fact that he's now in a comfortable space to say that publicly is good. Also, other positive change. Guess who hired Sharon Moore? Do you know who hired Sharon Moore, John?
Our favorite athletic director, Ward Manuel.
Right, Ward Manuel. Well, guess what? If this doesn't work out, and Ward Manuel's contract's up in 2025, guys. So look for change there. I don't expect Ward, if this season goes how it potentially could, we don't want it to. I'd rather have a good season than, like losing Ward and having the football team have a tough year. I don't want that either. But life is life, reality is reality. If that does seem to happen, I do not expect Ward to be extended at all. There's been some rumors behind the scene. Like, I don't know if anyone saw the interview with Sam. He's like, well, I'd like to, maybe it wasn't Sam, maybe it was the other interview we did. He goes, well, I'd like to be extended. There's a reason he's not. Okay. There are people at Michigan who are well aware that Michigan might need to go in a different direction. Okay. That's real. So we'll see how that goes. And then, so what can I say out of this? Look, I think Michigan's NIL efforts will get more aggressive. I do think the potential of a new AD in the future is a thing. And I do not expect Sharon Moore and co to have the longest leash, although it's too early to call. I don't have any insider intel on that by any means, or, nothing's been confirmed on that, but I cannot imagine if the season goes, if it's like this, if we have more games like this consistently and against inferior opponents. When I mean by inferior, I don't mean like Texas level. I mean like Maryland level or Minnesota. I mean, don't be wrong. We're going to beat, I think we'll beat Minnesota. We'll beat Maryland, shit like that. But like, my point is, like, if we have a lot of games with poor
Maybe.
performances, the leashes of these coaches it's going to get hot quick. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you lose, you adapt. Okay. There's your positivity. No way Michigan is going to lose and just accept it. Not going to happen. There will be change. Michigan is too proud for that shit. I think they just needed some humility, and they are getting it on national TV today. So that's what I have on that, John. You know, we got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of issues of concern, and I'm sure our callers want to get to it.
Yeah, and we've got a bunch more super chats, so I'll keep my conclusion brief. Everybody's saying, "Oh, well, you guys all wanted Sharon more." Yeah, you know why? Because we were at a point in the cycle where Jim Harbaugh left us, took our coaches, and what the hell were we supposed to do? Hire somebody externally with short notice, have a complete wholesale culture redo, and then you have a completely new system, a completely new everything. At that time, I stand by saying that made sense at the time. I didn't know that Harbaugh was going to take as many people as he did when I called, but I still said, okay, let's roll with it. Let's see what happens. And I still stand by the way, that if changes are made and Michigan beats USC, I stand by, I'll lay off. But if this continues, and I'm thinking right now that Michigan is going to get their ass kicked by USC if we saw what we saw today. Maybe not quite that extent, but USC has a defense now, folks. They're not just offense; they have a defense. So I think look, we've given all of our takes on the specifics. I think high level, you really got to look at a hard look at the mirror at quarterback, at line, right tackle, even at center. I still say Crippen's better. At wide receiver, at running back. I think the wrong people are in a lot of those spots on offense. And even in defense, I'm questioning some of what's happening on defense, as we talked about. So all I'm saying is USC post-game show, if this is the same thing, I'm doing a fire war. I'm doing a fire everybody, like either graphic or banner or something, and there's going to be hellfire back there, and it's going to say fire everybody. Okay, right now it says post game live. It's about to say fire everybody. One last thing, and then we'll get to super chats. We have one. We're giving our Leaders and Best award for the second straight week in a row to the kicker. Dominic Svada has an NFL, and he's gotten us a lot of the points that we've generated so far this season. He is really good. Congratulations, you got a kicker out of the portal. You should have gotten a quarterback out of the portal. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, and let me tell you, that kicker that they got out of the portal, phone calls were made. Anyways, Elijah, at least we're kicker you. We are, in fact, kicker you. We can be proud of that, damn it. Tom Bouchard, good to see Marshall returning kicks. I mean, you know, put your best players on the field and stop forcing squares into round holes. Marshall should get more playing time. I don't know what they're doing. I really don't know what they're doing. Jobu, maybe Stallions was more important than we thought. I mean, if he was more important than we thought, then what was Alabama's excuse? What was Ohio State's excuse? What about Washington? What'd that Joe Moore award-winning line do against? Oh, wait, Stallions wasn't there. Did they have time to change their signs? Come on, guys. Let's do better. Let's do better. $2, Brian Legray. Legree, Leger, my bad. This is 2017 all over again. Warren is O'Corn 2.0. We'll see. It's week 2. We'll come to conclusions after the USC game, maybe, even though that might be too early too, but I'm sure we'll all be feeling it then. McKellen Morris. Coach Moore hired the wrong defensive offensive coordinators. Not getting the QB in the portal was a huge miss. I mean, again, you know, and again, you're right, Morris. This shows his decision-making abilities, and this is a problem. I do not. My biggest concern, my biggest red flag right now is I am not sure Sharon Moore knows what he sees, and that's a problem. You need a leader who has the ability to discern and understands where his program is at. And they really thought we were just going to transition right into what we were going to leave. We were going to start right back up where we left off. They really believed that. And what's crazy is they saw that in camp and believed it, you know, like, I mean, how? I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there, and we don't get practice. We don't get footage in camp. You know, we only get things that leak from camp. So very interesting. And then Elijah with the $5 super chat. I hope Ward Manuel has his face planted in the TV today. Time to get 15 to 20 million by December. Well, I will say the goal is to get to 15 million by December. Currently, they're at 12.5 million. Their goal has been since about June or July to get to 15 million. Next year, we lose a lot. So we lose a lot. We're going to lose a lot of players with the draft, like Will Johnson, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant. That's a lot of money coming out the books that donors will then hopefully, as long as the coaches do a good job, allocate that money to new players. And on top of that, 2025 revenue sharing begins. We will see what the boys will do. And John has this here. Second hour has been unlocked, $95 for a third hour. So thank you, everybody, for contributing to the show. We appreciate all of you, honestly. We know this is a tough game for all of us. We all went through it. I'm sure, Moose DM'd me. He's like, I'm turning this shit off. I don't even know if he did, because I don't know if he can turn it off. But I hear you, Moose. It was a tough one.